Welcome back to Love and Relationships for the Modern Mystical Life. I'm Juliana Christine, and this is where we explore what's going on underneath the surface of all of our relationships so that we can create a new way of being together, one that is supportive for us all. The only reason I can teach what I'm teaching is because I have fucked up multiple times in relationships. I have cut off friends because I was too scared to show up fully as me. I lost friendships because I made up stories that people didn't care about me as much as I cared about them. But what was really going on is that I wasn't being honest with myself or them. I wasn't speaking or naming what I needed. I had this idea that people should just know. People should just know what you need because that's what I tried to do for others. But the truth is they don't. They just don't. And this is one of the greatest misconceptions that people pleasers live under. Because we're so hyper attuned to others, we think others are as hyper attuned to us. And they're not. As a people pleaser in recovery for years, decades, if I'm honest, I said yes to everything without checking in with myself. I felt really deeply, meaning like I could feel the environment I was in really deeply, the people that I was with. I was hyper attuned to other people's needs. And so I assumed everyone else was like me. But what would happen is because I said yes all the time and because I expected other people to be like me, I held myself back in my relationships. I kept parts of myself secret because I didn't really know that that's what I was doing. I just wasn't being honest and I was scared to be honest. But what happened is because I wasn't being fully me, resentment would build up. I'd make up stories that my friends didn't really care. They didn't really care about me as much as I cared about them. And then I'd cut off or I'd move away. One of these friends was a woman that I stayed with many times when I was in Vancouver. Her home was like my second home. And she was so generous to me opening up her home. She is also a very strong personality. And so my people pleasing kicked in full on. And what happened is I held myself back. I said yes and agreed with everything that she said. And over time, I slowly started to pull away from her because I started creating these stories in my mind that she didn't really care about me. And I pulled away and pulled away. And then she moved. She moved back to Ontario. And I never really spoke to her. And a couple years later, I was sitting in the inner harbor down by the seawall of Vancouver. And I was reflecting on my relationships. And it hit me that I never gave her a chance to actually know me. That the resentment that I carried was because I didn't let myself be seen. All she'd ever done was want to have a relationship with me and know me. And so right in that moment, I remember it was a September afternoon, a sunny September afternoon. I wrote her an email. I thought to myself, well, what's the worst that could happen? She doesn't reply. And so in this email, I appreciated her. I thanked her for all she'd done when I got to stay with her. I and I was accountable. I said to her, I realized I didn't fully show up, and I built up resentment in our relationship that had nothing to do with you because I didn't actually show up as me. And I apologized and I wished her well. And I had zero attachment. I just needed to really own my part of what had happened. And she wrote back within 24 hours. And we hadn't spoken in a couple of years, 18 months, a couple of years, something like that. And today she is one of my closest friends. She still lives very far away from me, but our friendship is true. I am honest in it. I speak what I feel and what I need. And she does that as well. Which was never something that she needed to worry about. But now what's so great about it is that I feel known. I feel cared for being me because I'm letting her know me, the all of me. And so sometimes this happens as we are in this, as we learn how to do relationships. Sometimes we have to go and repair. We have to own our part in what didn't work out in a relationship, because any relationship that we enter into, they have the potential to mirror our greatest, most limiting beliefs that were cultivated when we were children. And what will happen is, if these relationships mirror that, is that we start to act like we were kids. And that's exactly what I did with my friend. I started holding myself back and making myself small, which is what I did in my family. And then I reacted by cutting her off, which is also what I did in my family. I reacted. And so this is what I mean when I say that relationships are messy. You'll hear me say that quite a bit. Relationships aren't perfect. They're not meant to be perfect. They're a practice, and they change consistently as we change daily. And when they get messy, the messy parts are actually an opportunity for a deeper level of connection. And this is what I call relational integrity. Relational integrity is the capacity to be honest and compassionate while remaining genuinely curious about your experience and another's, without using blame or cutoff as the way to end the relationship. So let me explain. When I say capacity, I mean our ability to be within our own bodies, feel our emotions, and not get flooded by them. We might feel uncomfortable or nervous, but we're not in a flooded state, meaning we can't function regularly. Our hearts might be beating harder. We might have sweaty palms and whatnot, but we're able to be present. We're able to hold the discomfort of honesty with another person. This includes getting messy, stumbling over your words, sometimes saying the wrong thing. It includes being honest about your part, the ability to apologize, not as just a default sorry, but a real one when it's necessary, when it's required. When we can apologize truly from our hearts and not just a default sorry, which is something we do in Canada a lot, that's felt by another person. And then to follow that up with a showing up differently in the relationship, ooh, that's a beautiful relationship skills right there. And relational integrity includes receptivity, the ability to actually see and hear what another person is going through at the same time. So let's unpack these three qualities that I mentioned. Honesty. This is about being honest with ourselves so we can be honest with another. Sometimes when we're dishonest in a relationship, it's because we don't know what we don't know. Just want to let that sit for a second there. So sometimes it's being in the relationship, having hard conversations, making mistakes, stumbling on your words, and that leads to you becoming more honest with yourself about what you need or you believe or you want to share or what you're feeling. And sometimes your honesty might hurt or surprise another person, or their honesty might do the same to you. And that's okay, as long as it's not coming from a place of deliberately harming someone. That level of honesty is what being real looks like. You don't have to bubble wrap who you are. You don't have to bubble wrap your words to make sure everything stays perfect all the time. Compassion. So compassion is often easier to have compassion for another than ourselves. We can be our own worst critics. And so the question I like to sit with and that I bring with my clients is, can we be as compassionate with our own stumbles, our own mistakes, as we are with someone else's? And one question that I really support you to ask yourself. So think of a person that you really love. So that could be a child or your best friend or your partner. You can ask yourself, would I be being as hard on this other person for this perceived mistake that I'm having as I am on myself? Would I be that hard on them? And most often the answer is no. So can you bring your compassion to yourself? And this too is a practice. And then genuine curiosity. So genuine curiosity is about adopting an open mind. Having this question of, maybe I don't fully understand what happened. Maybe I don't fully understand what was going on for me or for them. And this posture creates safety because we stop making assumptions about what we know is going on. And when we can bring curiosity to the relationship, we invite the other person to be who they are. We invite the other person to go, oh, you really want to know me here. Okay. So I want to look at the idea of repair, which is what I did with my friend who I emailed. It was 18 months to 2 years. And that time frame, some might say that that's cut off, that I cut off from her. And I mean, potentially I did. However, sometimes we need space in a relationship. Sometimes in order to process, in order to feel, in order to gain clarity. And sometimes the space that we need is a couple of hours. Sometimes it's days, weeks, or months. With another relationship I healed, it took me a couple of years before I was ready to talk to this man again. And when I was ready, it was a very strong knowing, I want to talk to him. So I reached out to him and we had multiple deep conversations about what had gone on between us. And because of our ability to show up in relational integrity, our ability to be honest, compassionate, and genuinely curious with each other, even through the messiness, the tears, the shaking, the pounding heart, the sweaty palms, we were able to genuinely hear the other person. He is now someone I respect very, very deeply. And it's because we both took responsibility for our part in what happened. We were both able to hear each other's experiences about the hurt. And from the outside, it probably didn't look good, right? From the outside, it could be like, oh, they're not talking anymore. Or, oh, why are they talking now? But we needed that space to feel the hurt, to reflect on our part, and to get to the other side with some clarity. And so sometimes if we rush or we try to fix, we bypass what we're actually ready for. And just wrapping it back to the people pleaser piece, that's something that people pleasers will often try to do, is try to fix misunderstandings before they're ready to be fixed, because it's uncomfortable to sit in the not knowing. It's uncomfortable to sit in, I wonder what, like your own feelings about something, or I wonder what this person is thinking or feeling about me. But if we rush our own readiness or another person's readiness, it's kind of like we're forcing something. We're trying to force something to happen. And of course, just like anything, it's a practice because it's also potential that we're avoiding. So as you can see, there is no cut and dry A plus B equals C map in the terms of relationships. Relationships take a level of being responsible for yourself, being honest with yourself, and an ability to return again and again when you're ready, so that you can be honest and compassionate and curious with the other person. Our relationships don't need to be tied into a bow, and they definitely don't need to be perfect, but they do need to be honest and open and filled with curiosity and compassion and the mess. So today I would love to leave you with a prayer that my teachers taught me. And I invite you to hold it for yourself and for the people in your life. The prayer goes like this: I commit to seeing you, me, and everyone as innocent in order to return to a state of love and peace. Underneath each of our defenses, our emotions, our poor behaviors, and our fears, there is an innocence, a purity. That's the heart energy. And that's why we fall in love with the people we fall in love with. So when you can hold that prayer close, your relationships will actually become more joyful. They open up to more possibility to be delighted and surprised by one another. Thank you so much for listening today. If something came up for you, you have a question, I'd love to hear it. You can send me a voice message on SpeaksPipe. The link is in the description of the podcast. Have the most beautiful day.